All right. Welcome back to another hour of Scotch Hour. I'm Noah.
And I'm Jesse.
All right, Jesse. So this evening we got, I believe we got Glenfiddich 14. That's the bourbon cask, right?
That's right.
Nice. And I'm surprised Brian's not here to try that. He's a big fan, I think.
Brian, you're missing out.
You're missing out, Brian. And you had us do an interesting smarter challenge this week. We had to watch The Usual Suspects and Suicide Kings, and then I guess if I'm understanding correctly, you had to do kind of like a little bit of a compare and contrast on the moral compass or the code that they follow.
That is exactly right.
And then we had dinner. This place, I believe, will get a much better review than the last week's. I mean, last week's is okay if you like that place or those kind of places. And then we got our shout outs. So with that, let's go ahead and unless we've got any other housekeeping stuff.
I think that's it.
Scotch Reviewed.
All right, so as Noah mentioned, this is the Glenfiddich 14 bourbon barrel cask finish, first aged in matured bourbon casks and then finished in young oak casks that have been charred beautifully. Looking forward to having this because we've had some good luck with the Glenfiddich in the past. Now, we're not going to go into all the detail you went into with one of our previous ones, but just a couple little pieces. It is the Glenfiddich Distilleries in Dufftown in Moray. So it is a Speyside single malt Scotch.
Speyside.
That's right, Speyside. And it has been family owned since 1887.
I think you kind of have to respect that because, a lot of times some of these these distilleries and stuff, they get bought out by these like big corporations. And I think it kind of loses that family touch, if you will.
There are a lot of scotches out there that have brought some class and grandness back, even though they've gone through some tumultuous times. But I agree with you. You have to respect a long-running, generation after generation, family-run Scotch. I think that's with anything.
Yeah, I agree, and it's kind of like I think it's neat though. I guess if I was going to do a comparison like that, it might be like that House of Gucci movie. Because Gucci, right? They used to have like a great name. Then the name got ran into the mud, and then they were bought out by a large corporation, and basically the whole Gucci family got kicked out of it. But yet the brand still exists, and it's still thriving. But at the same time, I think you have to give much respect to a family that can hold on to a corporation for a long time.
I think part of that might even be just a family that really has true respect for themselves and each other. I think when you see a lot of the families fall apart, it's one generation not trusting the other generation any longer, whether that's the older generation not trusting their kids to run the business because they didn't. Possibly because they didn't raise them right, or it's the younger generation saying, "Grandpa gotta go, man. He's like killing this." So
that, or maybe they married a messed up woman who wants to try to kill everybody.
I mean, is she hot?
I don't know. I mean,
you're supposed to say yes, she's very hot on the crazy hot scale. Looney Tunes.
I guess if you're looking at the movie of the House of Gucci, I guess you'd have to. It would depend on whether or not you think Lady Gaga is hot, and then if so, is she like crazy hot? She's definitely on the like super crazy scale in this movie, but
for me, for a long time, she's been both hot and crazy. But part of that crazy is what makes her hot. She's done. She came from money. Her dad did well. She didn't go without, but she still became her own.
She is definitely her own, but. Yeah, we won't. That's a whole nother sidetrack there. So, anyways, back to you.
Somehow we got to talking about Lady Gaga for an hour and a half. What color is her hair?
I mean, it was all about trying to pay respect to Glenfiddich for being family owned.
That's right.
I will say I did learn this about the about Glenfiddich here, that this 14 is one of the very rare ones that they use the bourbon casks on. And most of the time they use sherry, and like sherry kind of brings out like a little bit more of a sweeter, richer flavor. But like when you just do a pure bourbon cask, it kind of gives you like the true taste or the true measure of the whiskey.
That we're going to find out, especially since they finish it in those young oak casks. And
I think American oak, is that what we said? Okay.
American oak. And I know you and I both have a different fondness, but a fondness nonetheless for that oaky flavor and a great aged beverage. So with this, just like before, whether it was the 12, the 15, or this 14, the triangular shaped tube, if you will, is handsome. Great colors. I like the blue bottle. Very much the same. A nice, handsome bottle to go with you to a nice dinner, a poker night, or just a good night doing a podcast and drinking a bottle of scotch.
Yeah, like those bottles from Glenfiddich, the way they're designed, it makes it a lot easier to hold than some of those just pure cylinder ones.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like the prescriptions that don't come in a round tube that old people with problems with their hands can't open. They're triangular so they can get into their scotch. Like, well done, Glenfiddich.
Yeah, and I mean their design's pretty much straightforward all the way across the board.
Yeah.
Different colors, but pretty much still same. Different but same. All right. Okay, so I guess we'll do our little cut scene here, and now that we're back down to just us, we might be able to do. I'm not even sure if we can do the speed up one. But if we can, we will. But I think when I do a split screen, if we're doing a split screen this time, we may not be able to do the whole.
All right.
But if I can, I will.
All right. Well, cheers.
Cheers. Okay, so we did our tasting notes there. Maybe you guys got to see us sitting there chit-chatting in super fast mode while we were tasting and sipping and smelling and doing all the fun, crazy stuff with it. And now we're gonna give you our lowdowns on what we tasted and saw and what we believe here and with the Glenfiddich 14.
Absolutely. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, well, I'll go first since you went first last week. So I'll hit it up first here this time. All right, so for me, when I look at the color here, right, I get a nice like honey gold color. It's not really like a really brassy or anything like that. It's more to me like a honey gold, which I like. But even though it does have like a gold color to it, because it is at the honey gold, it's still kind of pretty see-through-ish. Mm-hmm. And so nice color, but still kind of light. As far as the nose go, anytime you drink like a nice bottle of wine or drink a great bottle of scotch, the first thing that's going to be introducing itself to you is going to be that bouquet, that smell. And I do believe this Glenfiddich 14 has a nice introduction. Mm-hmm. To me, it did have it was almost like a vanilla bomb.
Yes.
When you my first impression when I first started to smell the bouquet of it, I just got just tons and tons of vanilla. It was just like vanilla for days. And then from there, I got some wet oak. And there's different types of oak. So there's charred oak, but here this seemed just more like a damp, wet oak with some. With a slight bit of malt and some sweetness. And the one part I couldn't tell really on the sweetness, if that was coming from maybe a banana type of a scent, or maybe something like an apricot or some other kind of citrus. So that sweetness was kind of hard to pinpoint for me. And then as I went through the palate here, I thought it was a very light palate, not very, to me it was kind of a light-bodied scotch. Once again, got the vanilla, got some banana, got a little bit of apricot there. But I did pick up some apple. And to me, like near the end of the mid palate, it almost became kind of like a slight butterscotch entering into the finish. And then when I got to finish, it was definitely like oak wood spice with some cinnamon and sweet malt to finish it off. And it kind of it will sit there, and it sits there, and it's an enjoyable kind of like conversation you're having with that sip. And that's kind of like the way I would describe it.
Yeah. For me, much like yourself, it's not a light gold. It's a deep gold, not brassy, almost a little bit of brass in there, but a nice deep gold. Joyful color, great for the bottle, not super deep, but definitely a good gold on the nose for me. Man, you I think nailed it when you mentioned the vanilla. This is vibrant vanilla bean to me, and why I really stress the vanilla bean when I make my creme brulee. I sit there and I do use the vanilla seeds, but I also really just grate some of the vanilla bean itself into my creme brulee, and this is what I get both on the nose and in the palate. Is that real vanilla, nothing fake here. Vibrant,
no fake news here,
no
baby.
fake news here. That's right. And then there is a little bit of it's not overly sweet, and I need to stress that, but a little bit of brown sugar in there, like a structured sugar, if you will. And it's just the aroma finishes beautifully with that oak. And I think when and on the nose, the oak is that American oak that I'm really getting with the taste. Right from the get-go, it is structured well. It has great layers of vanilla, almost toffee, that sugar, that brown sugar, maybe burnt brown sugar, the woody spices, but then that long finish kind of goes to not a super smooth, but a creamy oak that is very, very enjoyable to me. Finally, man, the finish. I love the finish. It's long lasting.
That's what she said.
Yeah, that's truly what she said. I hear that all the time. It's long lasting. And it's a lingering sweetness. It's interesting to me that this sweetness comes out with the oak, with that wet wood that I really enjoy. Also what she said. Delightful. I can't wait to share this with friends. Brian, that's you, man. We need to get you on. And
Brian, I'm surprised you're not here to be enjoying this one. But I'm not going to pour one out to my dead homies. He's alive, though.
Yeah, Sasquatch God. Here you go, Sass.
Sorry.
Man.
I got to derail a little bit since Brian's out here.
Yeah. To me, though, really, if you like that oak aroma, flavor, and finish, this nails it. If you enjoy vanilla and a little bit of sweetness, again, not overly sweet, but a brown sugar sweet to me, through and through, a delightful scotch. This would be one of my top picks to go with the tiramisu or a creme brulee.
I would say definitely a creme brulee. I'm not quite sure I go with the tiramisu. I definitely like drinking just a nice espresso with my tiramisu. You would have to maybe twist my arm a little bit, but I would experiment.
All right. So all in all, for me, this is definitely a thumbs up. Bring it to a poker night.
Honestly, what's the price point on this one?
$55?
$55. Yeah. So this one right here, I think if you're going to go to a party or like a small gathering or something, this would be one that like it has a nice flavor to it. And you're not breaking the bank. And, because there's sometimes when you go to places and if you bring something like really high end, some people just don't appreciate it. And they'll slam the shot or something. And at least this one here at $55, I mean, it has a nice finish. It's not like overbearing on the budget there. And if someone did decide to slam it, you at least wouldn't be too offended by it. I don't think. At least I wouldn't be. Not like if I had like a more expensive bottle, I'd be a little bit more offended.
I'd be willing to test this with a whiskey sour or a few other mixed drinks as well.
You know what? It might be really good with that one is our whiskey sloppy joes.
There you go. Whiskey sloppy joes.
If you haven't ever had one of these whiskey sloppy joes, you're missing something in life.
Email us. We've got the recipe coming soon publicly, but it is dynamite.
It is.
So over and all, though, like this is 2 thumbs up for me. This is a fun Scotch.
It was a great Scotch. I enjoyed it. There's a lot of thank you, Scotch Hour for making this one available for us.
Thank you, Glenfiddich, for making this one available for us. We've had a lot of good luck with Glenfiddich. And I think it's, I don't know that there's a whole lot of Scotches price-wise that are super comparable and as good.
I agree. Well, isn't Glenfiddich like one of the, like, isn't that
most consumed,
the most like made or something? Yeah.
The 12 in particular, the most drinking Scotch in the world.
Yeah, because they make the most of it or whatever. But in any case, all right. Next subject here, right? Our shout outs.
It's time for our shout-outs.
Oh, so you want to go first?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Yeah, I'll let you go
I'm
first.
kind of excited about this.
What do you mean? I don't know why. I'll let you go first. No, you go first.
Oh, man. No, I got to go. I'm excited about this. So a couple of shout-outs for me. Number one is going to be Mila. My daughter, and just really cranking through, doing well with her new job, doing well in life. It was a pleasure this weekend to sit down next to her on the couch watching some Pirates of the Caribbean while she was doing her homework. And it was just some great quality time. She brought heart-shaped chicken nuggets. She bought these. Like, I didn't have to buy them. She bought these, and they were delicious. And then she also bought me Reese's. They're the preformed ones, but she bought me Reese's cookies so we could bake them together and enjoy them while we were watching the show. Mila, I love you. Thank you so much for
That's
really,
cool. Like a little bit of a daughter-dad time. That's awesome.
It was awesome. Aiden was off with his friends. Now, my other shout out this week goes to Aiden. And
okay, Brian.
Yeah, I know. No, this isn't Aaron for making me a marble cake. This is for Aiden for playing like a king and his whole team. So Aiden, Cherokee Trail, freshman basketball. Aiden, this weekend, watching you play both Smoky Hill and Overland. I was telling everyone at work about you today, and really about both of you, but Aiden, what I said about you in particular was that you did your job well. You played your position flawlessly. You executed it well. I hope you can, I hope you continue to do that the rest of your life, because then you'll be one of the happiest people on this planet. Not everyone can do that, but it was to the point of, had you and your team not won, you were so much fun to watch play this weekend, playing so well, communicating well with your team, really just executing flawlessly. Of course, you did win, but even if you hadn't, I'd still be cheering for you because you were a pleasure to watch. You and your team played so well, and I'm proud of you. I couldn't be more proud of you. So awesome job, Aiden. As a parent, I think that's one of the things that's tough is I've seen him lose games and play that well, and I was still okay with it. And that was one of these weekends where he won as opposed to losing and played that well. And just cheers to you and your team, to all the parents, seriously, who have all of these students, because I know how hard you guys work and practice and play, and I love it. And so thank you for making that piece of my weekend that much more enjoyable by getting to enjoy you having fun. Thank you.
Awesome. Great shout out.
Yeah,
that's a great one.
Both of them were amazing this weekend. I really a proud parent.
As you should be. Your kids are actually really phenomenal kids. So
yeah, I know I'm lucky. Not everyone gets that.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of neat that for a long time you and I had kind of like went our separate ways, and we've come back together. And I think it's been a real pleasure to meet your kids, and they're really two great young adults.
Yeah, I'm super proud.
Yeah, as you should be. All right, I don't have kids, so I'm not going to be doing any shout out to kids. So, but my first shout out
that you know of.
Yeah, that I know of.
Sorry, ladies, but do not come after him.
Yeah, please.
We'll
no.
hide him.
My first shout out though is going to go out to some special people out in Canada. These are the truckers in Canada that have driven themselves to the Capitol and laying on the horn saying, we ain't taking this shit no more. No more mandates, no more masks. Screw you. We are not taking it. We want our freedom back. And I think it's awesome that they're standing up for themselves and their countrymen. Yeah. And it's coming soon to DC as well. The truckers are getting here in the United States. They're planning their trip going from California to DC, and I think it's awesome that you're starting to get these peaceful protests, and for the most part lawful.
Yeah,
and they even said that they raised enough money that these truckers can sit right there in front of the Canadian Parliament or whatever you want to call it there, or in our case, our capital area, for like 2 years.
That's a lot of time, man.
Blocking up roads and all kinds of stuff.
See, now that I hear you. I hear you.
And here's the thing, like there's like, I know we've been very good about avoiding political talk and everything, but as you know, anyone who's like been paying attention to the news, more and more information is coming out to start to ask questions and say, hey, do we really need to be doing some of these things? And then my other shout out is changing gear here quite a bit. I'm going to give a shout out to Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau for episode number 5 of Boba Fett, the Book of Boba.
I still haven't seen it.
And I'm telling you, it is so kick ass.
I love the shout out though, because man, Jon Favreau for the Mandalorian.
I'm telling you, if you love the Mandalorian, you're going to love episode 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Episode 5 is like totally kick butt. And I think they did an awesome job. And I'll do one last one. I will do a family one.
I like this.
I will pull a Brian here.
That's not Brian, unless it's always your wife.
No, you did. Well, yeah. Anyways, I'll give a shout out to my younger brother, Adam. He was in a car accident, broke one foot, sprained another one pretty badly. And he's been a real trooper. He's healing up pretty well. Because of that, he was a driver. And I think, that when that fire happened, Marshall Fire, and there's like those big gusts of winds. Well, they believe that one of those big gusts of winds is what pushed his truck, and that's what caused the accident. But that caused him to also lose his job. And so, but he's... And looks like he has a line on a pretty good position in another company to where he can actually work from home, which will actually probably be better for him. But he also, we hung out together, had a great time, and he made a pretty kick-ass steak with some green chili.
Nice.
So,
cheers.
Just want to give him a cheers as well. Yeah. Okay. So that takes us. Any more shout-outs?
That's what I have this week.
All right.
I'm looking forward. There's some great things. You know what? Let me give one. I'm going to backtrack just a hair. One last shout out.
Okay.
Tom Brady. Whether or not there's real news or fake news, whether you're retiring or not, you deserved it. You've earned it. I'm giving a shout out to this gentleman. I hope for you do retire. As much as I want to see you play another season and do more great things, I hope for you, you have earned the rest of your life as a vacation, and you have fought so many people who doubted you, who called you a cheater, who called you a liar. At the end of the day, I don't even care if you were. You came back and you won again and again and again. Oldest man on the NFL playing field, breaking records. Like, I love it.
Honestly, I would like for him to come back at least one more season and win the Super Bowl again.
You know what? I don't know. I do too. For me, I want that for him. If I'm living him, if I'm him, and
he doesn't need to prove himself anymore. But I think if he were to come back one more time, it's just like, I think it'd be kind of cool to see him go out on top. Like if he would have like like retired last year when they won the Super Bowl, that would have been pretty awesome. It would have been even more awesome if they would have gotten to the Super Bowl this year and he was able to retire on top again, but or not again, but be able to retire on top. But if he could come back and just play one more season and actually win the Super Bowl, I'd be pretty chill with that.
I agree with you. Nico Rosberg did that. He won in the championship title in Formula One and retired, broke his contract. He's like, I'm out, finishing on top. Good for him. But I think at the end of the day, for me, Tom Brady, and I do want you to come back for me, but for you, man, enjoy the rest of your life with your family. And at the same time, I also understand like work-life balance for a workaholic means you want to play. Yeah. So do what's best for you, but for you, you've earned it. So whatever you decide to do, you have earned it. And I'm going to miss this superstar. I think many people will, even especially the haters. Now who are they going to hate? Mahomes for losing another playoff game?
I guess the next one up is Aaron Rodgers, maybe. Oh, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is not making any friends with his like anti-vaccine stuff.
Rodgers, I also support you. So by the way,
cheers to Rodgers.
Right? I'm saying like maybe play a little bit smarter, but I got nothing against what you standing up for you. It's no different than Kyrie Irving in the NBA. For all of you guys who are standing up for your rights, I appreciate that. I really do. Standing up for your rights. That is something I will never fault any of you for.
Exactly.
No matter how well or poorly you play again. So good for you. But yeah, I just wanted to say that about Tom Brady because everyone has hated him as long as I've known him. And for me, man, you have earned, I really do hope you have the best rest of your life possible. I hope you go out on top knowing that you didn't have to win another Super Bowl. But if you do come back, I'm going to be watching. So good for you either way.
Restaurant Review.
This week we have the Platte River Bar and Grill. So this is down in Littleton, Colorado, off Santa Fe, right by, if you will, Arapahoe Community College.
Yeah, Arapahoe Community.
And
I thought it was a hospital at first when I drove by at night. I mean, it's nighttime. I really didn't know what it was. It was like a big building. I'm like, is that a hospital?
He's talking about the college, not the restaurant, by the way.
Yeah, I am talking about the college.
So with that, I've been to this location in the past, and it's always been in the summer. This time we ventured in the winter, and I was very worried that on a Sunday night, on a playoff game night, they'd be packed. They were not. The place was actually kind of dead.
It was.
And we strolled in and enjoyed some food. You want to talk about your food first?
Sure. They had a decent tap, beer tap selection there. Ended up going with the Palisade Peach. It's a little bit sweeter beer than I typically like. Probably shouldn't have gotten as big of a glass as I did. But it was still really good. As far as my meal goes, I did get the the buffalo chicken sandwich, and I got it as a grilled sandwich as opposed to where it was deep fried with the breading, because I sometimes I have issues with the breading. Like if it's a really good breaded chicken sandwich, then it makes a world of difference. But when it's terrible, it's terrible. And so I went with the grilled version, and it was good. Nothing to complain about. Like the other side of their menu was like pretty much like all Mexican food with like green chili. And honestly, if I hadn't made my own green chili and been eating green chili for like a whole week, I probably would have gotten like one of their burritos or something and would have probably enjoyed that meal, because we did have some chili fries for our appetizer, and their green chili seemed like it was pretty decent. Overall, I think it's a fun place to go, maybe with some friends or with your family to watch like a sporting event. The wait staff, I don't know. I mean, she was friendly, but I don't think she was all there.
She was definitely enjoying her evening. Yeah.
I'm not sure if she was tipsy or she definitely wasn't paying 100% attention. Like usually when you like have like a split check, you know, the waiter or the waitress will like, you know, hand each person theirs, but she just kind of like dropped it and walked off and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I would say probably the wait staff probably needs to be a little bit better. The food, like I said, was decent. Nothing. I wouldn't expect anything better from like a bar grill type of place. So seems like a kind of fun atmosphere. And I think if it was summertime with the garage doors open with like a band playing or something like that, and you're just chilling, and you didn't have to worry about drinking and driving. And PSA note: don't drink and drive.
Do not ever drink and drive.
Then I would say, you know, maybe the summertime might be a little bit better, but I'd give it a solid 7 with like maybe the atmosphere being pushing up to an 8 during the summertime with the band playing.
Might be a go back to revisit it, to compare the different seasons.
Yeah. So that I'll give it a 7. You could do your first date there, I suppose, but may not be one of my top on my list.
No, it's interesting because for me, I've been there previously in the summer with coworkers, really, I think always. And it's been a great experience. They were not understaffed, so that absolutely was something nice to see. They had plenty of staff, but possibly they were planning on being busier as well. When I say this place was like not busy, it was crickets at 7:30 at night on a playoff night in the fourth quarter of a playoff game. So that was kind of surprising to me. I was a little worried pushing the timetable right to that point. Going in, though, the atmosphere in the evening, that's another thing. I've never been there that late at night. Typically, I go in the middle of the afternoon, and in the middle of the afternoon again with friends, sunlight, all these different things. They do have a very big impact through those wonderful garage-style doors, glass garage doors that they have. The food, what I would say is much like Noah, I had the Breckenridge Brewery Palisade Peach in a giant mug. Here's one of the tops. The one of the wins for me is this mug. This giant mug was beautifully frosted. It was so cold that when the bubbles came off, the froth came off the top of the beer, if you will, and got to the side of the glass, it basically made a froth ice cube, and it was awesome. I love that. Even though it's the dead of winter, I love a good cold mug for my beer. Especially on a day when I've gone and worked out, man, I'm enjoying every one of those cold frigid temperatures on that glass. So that was amazing. That was one of the wins for me. The appetizer, the chili cheese fries, prices were pretty good, pretty decent. The chili cheese fries, $9.99 for, I would say, an average to small sized plate. The $9.99, not bad. We added bacon, $2.75. So now you're talking, a few dollars more. So instead of being $10, it's $13 roughly. And the one thing I would say is, much like Noah mentioned, the green chili was good. Now, I can't not mention the West Main Tap House chili cheese fries in that statement.
There you go.
The value, the chili was better. Everything on those chili cheese fries at West Main Tap House. So you're comparing Littleton to Parker at this point. When we talked about if the location wasn't a deciding factor, or if you would even have to drive an extra 10 miles one direction or another, for me, if it's about the chili cheese fries, West Main Tap House, 10 out of 10 times.
And not even that. Like if you go during happy hour, it's $8.
Dude, it's crazy. So West Main Tap House, cheers to you for your chili cheese fries. And again, I'm not saying the Platte River Bar and Grill cheese fries weren't good. Portion in comparison to everything else,
West Main has a beat.
Dude, yeah. So the chili cheese fries, pretty good. Not going to let me down, especially if I was there for a lunch with a friend for a beer. For my dinner, I had the
Philly.
They called it, it was a Philly cheese. This is what they called it. And what they do is they take ribeye, according to their menu, they take ribeye and thinly slice it, add in the peppers and the onion and the Swiss cheese on a hoagie roll. This also was a win for me. It was delicious. It was well-sized, well-proportioned, $13.99. And it was great. Like, It's probably the best Philly cheesesteak I've gotten in Colorado.
Okay, I have to ask you this. Like after you, like I know you went to Philly, right? And
compared to Philly,
I recommended Tony Luke. I recommended going to Tony Luke's there in Philly. Like after like going to Philly and having some like real Philly cheesesteaks, like that's why I don't really order Phillies anymore, is because I can't find a good Philly.
You know, I agree.
And if anybody's like watching or listening from New Jersey and by Tony Luke's, or if anyone from Tony Luke's is listening to this, oddly enough, man, if you could send some Tony Luke's here, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, let us know. We'll eat them on the show.
Yes, we will eat it on the air.
Or eventually we're going to come visit you, by the way, which is one of our many long-term plans. But with that, yeah, it's a 1 compared to a Tony Luke's. But in Colorado, this thing was a 10. The meat in particular was amazing. The ribeye, the sliced ribeye was amazing. The peppers were perfectly cooked. The onion was well done. Might have liked a little more cheese, but I can't complain anywhere. Now, the second win, though, of this whole meal was the tater tots that I got. And I know this sounds silly, but for those of us who love our tater tots, we don't want them hard on the inside, but we absolutely want them crispy and warm on the outside. And these were perfectly cooked. And, you know, we talk about condiments and everything else. They actually had salt and pepper on the table.
That was a win.
That was a win. So I could add just a little bit of salt because that's what they needed. I appreciate them not salting them for those who are conscious about their sodium. I actually do appreciate that with parents who now watch those things. But for me, man, those tater tots were the second win. Is it first date worthy, man? If you're going low key, not to like a fancy dinner, take them on a first date. Yeah, it can be fun. Go in the summer, go in the day, go on a warm day.
Yes.
Have some fun, nice beer selection. Do make mixed drinks, full bar, lots of fun there. Go with a friend, absolutely. Great beers. I think that piece was good. Again, though, definitely a day or summer type of venue, warm day type of venue. The wait staff, this is my one struggle. Like, I'm ready to give this place because of the food I personally experienced and ate, but the wait staff, they were fully staffed. This was not their night. They were not playing like Aiden was in his last game. They were not playing at a 10. And I agree with you. The turnoff was at the end. Like, this is your chance to rally. This is rally time at the end. This is your bill. And as opposed to handing the two separate bills to us, literally like dropping them on the table, both when she was waiting for our cards, knowing she was splitting the bill, and then also after she'd run the cards. That was like almost like a deal breaker to me. It actually offended me because normally I tip like.
You know what even was even more offensive, I thought?
What's that?
Even though she did all that stuff, right? And then she goes, "Don't give me a bad review on your podcast."
Yeah, because we were honest with her at the beginning. Like, she's like, "Oh yeah, this, that, and the other," and we're like, "Well, yeah, we do this all the time because we review restaurants on our podcast. We will, review this food." And then yeah, we're walking out, and she's yelling at us, "Don't give me a bad review on the podcast." And it's like, wait a minute, like maybe this is a new gig. If this is a new gig, use it as a learning experience. This is why we're not using your name, by the way. We don't want to wreck that piece of it, but use it as a learning experience. Don't just drop the damn bills on the table. Like, it was offensive. It's like,
it was offensive, and that could have been a win for her. I mean, all the other little screw ups that she had before that. If she could just hand the bills to us correctly.
You mean like when she spilled an inch of my beer on the table, setting it down?
Yeah.
That was crazy. Again, none of those things really offended me. But at the end, man, I don't know. Like, this is like a slap in the face. It was literally a slap in the face. I'm just like, man, this was your rally time. I hope you enjoyed the game. Probably had a few beverages yourself. Good for you. I normally leave a 30% tip. I almost never leave less than a 15% tip. I didn't leave that. Because I was like, you didn't earn it tonight. Like, you didn't earn it. And when I say I usually leave a 30% tip, I get good service, not great service, good service, 30% tip. Great service, 40% tip. For me, like I struggled and gave a 10% tip. I was like, actually, it was a 12% tip. I don't even know why I did that. It was a struggle for me to give that.
That's actually pretty good. I gave probably more like an 18%. I felt bad about giving 18% because I really thought I should have been lower.
I I gave more than 10% now that I think about it and did the math. It's 12. But I just, normally I would give 20 to 30. And I just couldn't.
I'm pretty much a solid 20. Unless you're like unless you did a great job, then I'll give you more than 20.
So for Platte River Bar and Grill, in general, on this experience, a 7. In general, an 8. But yeah, just learn and grow, hopefully.
Yeah. Like I said, I think it has potential for an 8, but I had to give it a 7.
Smarter Galactus.
Jesse, why don't you go ahead and bring us home here? Tell us what it is, and since it was your baby, I don't even know how to take it.
Dude, so this is a part of an ongoing, hopefully learning experience, smarter challenge for those of you viewers and us as individuals, no matter your age, whether you're a 12-year-old viewer, please make sure your parents know you're watching this. We try to keep it appropriate, but once in a while we might slip. They might not love everything we do or say. With that though, 18 plus crowd, absolutely. 2 weeks ago, we reviewed The Punisher, and we talked about the comic book strip, which was The Punisher was first introduced in a Spider-Man comic book in February of 1974. We talked about, his code and what it would be like if we experienced some of the things he experienced, which also kind of explains part of where we feel our code is. This next evolution was to watch and review Suicide Kings, a 1997 crime thriller, kind of like a black comedy film, if you will, starring the two most famous stars to me, the two people who made the movie, Dennis Leary and Christopher Walken. Christopher Walken, who plays Charles Bartlett. And then the second movie, The Usual Suspects, 1995, 2 years prior to the Suicide Kings, a mystery thriller film more so than a crime thriller. And, this is your spoiler alert. We're going to wreck these movies for you because they have great ends. If you haven't seen
them already, then
that's kind of something. Yeah, you're probably...
It'd probably be like the younger...
you're younger than 18.
Yeah, it's probably like the younger generation. And if you don't know who the Christopher Walken is for the younger generation, it'll be the guy who says more cowbell. We need more cowbell.
Yeah.
That's from that meme. That's Christopher Walken.
Yeah. So with The Usual Suspects, more of a neo-noir thriller, mystery thriller. And, oh man, 2 great movies. Really, the point is to look at the 2 main characters, which ironically one might consider the villain or the anti-hero, depending on how you look at it, but most likely the villain in these movies. So Charlie Bartlett, Charlie Barrett, played by Christopher Walken in Suicide Kings, is a mob boss, if you will. Definitely someone who ran a function of crime and had a lot of power because of that. In the movie, he is ultimately kidnapped by a bunch of young kids who don't feel bad because they kidnapped him, but he was a bad guy because he did all the same things they're doing. Irony. I love that piece of it, but ultimately he helps them find and achieve their goal. And a couple of things that really stand out along that way are that he always keeps his word, and he does to the end, man. He has no reason, and he has all the power too, but he has no reason not to terminate all of these lives. Like, it could have been a done deal. But he keeps his word. He doesn't kill any of them. Might hurt one a little bit, but he doesn't kill any of them. And he also commits and finishes the job he said he would do for his own freedom.
I think you brought up, I'm sorry, I'm going to just interject here. I think you brought up a good point here about he always kept his word. And I think this is something that's really important nowadays. Like, I remember growing up and having to have grandparents and parents say that a person is only as good as their word.
Right.
And as I have gone through life, and especially with running a business and having to do interviews and things like that, people don't hold true to their word. They'll tell you, like, they'll show I'll show up for an interview, and they don't even show up for an interview. Or if you're a manager and you have like a staff that's underneath you, they don't really do what they say they're going to do. And so really, I think this younger generation, and I'm not really trying to pick on them that much, but I really, I don't know what's happened from like maybe like our parents or grandparents' generation to maybe the millennials to even the younger generation, but it really seems like a person's word is no longer their bond.
It is, and it's a rarity, and that's part of the reason this was a big deal to me, and that's why I brought that piece up. You're talking about all these people who come in for interviews and then they ghost you. By the way, you do that to me, I'm ghosting your mom. Saying it is not the same as it once was. It is this thing where it used to be that a person's character, especially if you look at movies and older movies, a man's character was his only truly valuable characteristic.
And if you really look at it too, if you think about like mobsters, look at The Sopranos or like even The Godfather. A lot of times when you look at the mob, they all have a code, and a lot of times the code does go along with like them being men of their words, like what they say. That's what they're going to do. Good or bad. Like, but they're stuck with it. Like if they say like this is their word, they'll keep it, even if it means like that's the end of them.
Yeah. And in Suicide Kings, Charlie Barrett, he actually never threatens any of these people's lives in a way where he can't take it back. He literally tells them at one point, there was a time where for what you've done, you would all already be dead by now. And he never did that. He actually has kind of mellowed out with age and probably maturity and wisdom as well. It's just amazing. We'll get to the end of the movie in a minute. So that was 97, 95. Now we're going back 2 years. Kevin Spacey, Gabriel Byrne. I would say they're the two main actors in this movie. Kevin Spacey ultimately being, again, spoiler alert, Kaiser Soze. So in this movie,
another kind of mob boss, if you will.
Yeah, he was literally he's literally a villain. He was selling drugs. Let's face it, not cool. But in this movie,
guns.
Yeah, I mean, but that you can sell guns.
He was gun running, selling drugs.
With this piece, though, Kaiser Soze, back in Europe, is facing the Hungarian mob. The Hungarian mob decides they're going to come into power. So Kevin Spacey's character, Kaiser Soze, had already had power, and he was running drugs and guns. And this Hungarian mob decides they're going to show him a thing. This is way before the movie actually takes place, if you start the movie in modern time. And they go into his house, and this is the tragedy, and this is where it's crazy. They go into his house, going to show him a thing or two, and to get him to back off, they rape his wife, and he has multiple children. And when he comes in, they let him know he means business by killing one of his children and slicing their throat. And they're saying, you're going to let go and give us your territory, or we're going to do that to the rest of your family. He knew, and this is something that also is very important to me. This is kind of a tricky part, because I'm still struggling with how I would personally handle this. He knew that having seen all of this, his family would never be the same. He could never have that family again. They were whether or not he was, and that's an interesting piece too. They were ruined. They would never recover from seeing your own kids seeing your mom raped, and your own family seeing one of your children.
He probably did them mercy.
That's exactly how I feel. So what he does to let the Hungarian mob know he means business is he kills the rest of his family, kills the Hungarian mob, lets one man go, one Hungarian mobster go, so that he can tell the story. Now, this is the kind of, it's such a, it's an ugly story. I'm not saying this is beautiful, but the articulate part of this story, if you will, the strategy is that you fast forward all these years, and this one Hungarian mobster resurfaces and is being sold by this mob for $70+ million, because he's the one man on the planet that can identify by a visual experience Kaiser Soze. In lieu of all this process, Kaiser Soze takes all the people who might have had business with him that went wrong or who had personally done him wrong, puts them all in one job, finishes them all off, and then poof, just like that, disappears.
Okay, so now that you've given the synopsis of both movies, what is it?
Let's finish. Let's backtrack. So at the end of this movie, Kaiser Sose is pulled in by the detectives, and they all think he's just a gimp. I love this, by the way. Beautifully played, well acted. Kevin Spacey, superb. With that, because I thought the same thing until the end too, for the most part. With that, though, the end of Suicide Kings, Christopher Walken, Charlie, goes and does exactly what he said. He finds out that one of the boys, and he tells the guys all together, never lie to your friends. He goes and finds the people who actually committed the crime, which was one of the boys, but more importantly, it was one of the boys' girlfriends. Masterminded the whole thing, came up with the scheme, and at the end, Charlie has Dennis Leary's character kill the girlfriend and the boy who lied to his friends. Part of his code, never lie to your friends. So now we get to this point where Kaiser Sose at the end of the movie has just disappeared, committed all these perfect crimes. Charlie Barrett has committed and finished with his word. Now the piece is, man, how similar or dissimilar are these two characters? Are they really villains in your own mind? Were they truly bad guys, or as viewers' ratings would show, they were ultimately the heroes of these movies, ironically? And how do you feel about that, though? Could you live that life with those codes of either one of these two characters?
Okay, so this is what I would say here, and I'll try to sum it up as quickly as possible. I think, yes, Charlie Bartlett of Suicide Kings or Christopher Walken's character. Yeah, he was a mobster. Yes, he did things. He did kill people. He, probably stole things, did all sorts of those types of stuff. Thing is that he gave his word. He said that he would help them out. He never threatened to kill any of them, even for what they did to him. He's like, all right, it's a screwed up situation. I'll help you out. We'll get it done. I'll keep my word. But then he found out that he got screwed over, and he did keep his word. He went to go after the guys who supposedly kidnapped the one guy's sister, and they said, like, well, we didn't kidnap her. We don't have her. We only got like the $50,000 or whatever that they gave him. Or the girl gave these two guys. And they heard, like, Christopher Leary's character heard some noise in the bathroom or something. It was a cat, and but he didn't know it was a cat, so he ended up shooting those two guys. And they're like, oh, those guys were telling the truth. We screwed up. Like, I think if they would have found out that those guys were telling the truth, I don't think they would have killed them.
I think they would have killed him anyway.
I'm not positive they would have. I think they might have, they already shot the one guy twice in the legs because they were trying to find out the information.
He was going to die no matter what. The other guy, being a witness, a character witness in particular, would die too. They were dead. I
don't know if they were necessarily dead, but I think there was a possibility that he could have let them go as long as they would have given up the information. Possibly. I don't know. It didn't happen that way. It didn't play out that way, so we'll never know. But as far as like his code, I think what he did was right. I think he found out that the one friend and the other and the sister of the other friend, one of the guys, he found out that they stole his money and that they were that they basically played him.
Okay.
And since they played him, and they violated his code of ethics, and he stood true to his code of ethics, and he did what he said he would do.
Now, that being said, in your mind,
I'm fine with it.
He's not a bad guy.
No.
So that's my key too. These kids tried to steal, and this girl successfully stole.
Well, here's the thing.
It was $2 million. She got away with one of them. He got one back. But yeah, he went back after another million.
Here's the thing, though. I think once those kids kidnapped him and chopped off his finger, they're really no better than he was to begin with.
For sure. And I think that is actually part of his code in that movie. Now, ironically or unironically, is that I actually think Kaiser Sose has that same code. Kaiser Sose, in my mind, never went and injured or assaulted anyone who had not assaulted him, who had not done him wrong. He only took revenge on people who had done him wrong, literally to the point where everyone he kills in that movie, as we saw it, was someone that had offended his business, and he's taking retribution.
Yes and no.
Who does he hurt that was undid?
He even or his so-called Kobayashi, his lawyer.
Kobayashi.
Which is actually, but I think here they even admit though, some of these guys did not know that they're messing around with Kaiser Soze's business, and you could give
you kill my kid whether or not you knew it was my kid, you still killed my kid.
Yeah, but I'm just saying I'm sure if he had the reputation that he supposedly did in the movie, right? If someone knew that they were messing around with the Kaiser Soze stuff, they probably would have been like, nope, never mind. But then again, maybe not. Who knows? That's one of those avenues that we'll never know. It's part of a movie, and that's fine.
I think it's the point of the movie is he took out people who were the best of their actions in fields of crime and made sure no other crime boss ever came after him.
That's true, too. But I will say this, though. As far as him saying if you screw me over, my code of ethics is that I'm gonna defend what's mine, regardless if you knew it or not. And he held up to it. Now, whether or not he's a good guy or a bad guy for doing that, that's up to each individual person's own perception of how things went down. I'm not saying any of the players or any of the characters in this movie, minus probably the cop who's doing the interviewing.
The guy was a jerk.
He was a jerk, but
he played his role well.
But really, none of those guys were really innocent people. So, did they all deserve to die? Sure, they all deserve to die. Even one could say even Kevin Spacey's character probably deserved to die. He wasn't he wasn't a good guy either. But at the same time,
he wouldn't cry about it.
Yeah, he wouldn't cry. But at the same time, if you're talking about a code of ethics, if depending on how you're protecting your business and stuff like that, sure, I guess you're gonna go after someone when they come after you, and that's kind of like human nature, though. Anyways, in general, if that's when you have competition in business, right? You are gonna go after your competitor. You're gonna try to dominate your competitor, so you're the winning corporation.
Now, consider this. This is where we backtrack 2 weeks and we consider
2 weeks.
Who is more ethical or unethical? These characters, Kaiser Sose or Charlie Barrett versus the Punisher, because they're literally defending or taking retribution on people who have impacted them, and the Punisher's doing more.
I think they're all ethical. Well, no. Here's the reason why.
I'm not disagreeing.
Here's the reason why I think they're all ethical. Okay, I think if you're gonna say one person is less ethical than another person, I think it's going to be those people who lie about what their ethics are. And here's the point: Kaiser Soze never lied about his ethics.
Neither did Charlie Barrett.
Charlie Barrett never lied about his ethics, and then the Punisher has never lied about his ethics. Now, the people who I think were unethical were those kids who kidnapped Charlie Barrett, because that wasn't them. They went against their own code of ethics, and then they tried to do something that wasn't them. So they betrayed themselves, and therefore they were unethical. Now,
they not only betrayed themselves, they betrayed someone who literally had not betrayed any of them.
Exactly. And then if you look at the Punisher, I don't think anyone as far as him goes, the one I would say that might be unethical would have been probably the antagonist, the guy who played Caruso, because he's the one who betrayed his friends and stuff like that. So I don't think
it's tricky though, because here I agree with you. It's tricky though, because for me, Like, I can almost justify Charlie Barrett's and Kaiser Soze's actions more than the Punisher, because the Punisher, he's not doing anything wrong. He has taken out people who are killing others, who are doing wrong to so many others, but they've not done wrong to him. So it brings back this old, saying, an eye for an eye, life for a life, or a nose for a nose. I mean, how many body parts do you have?
So as far as I'm concerned, those three they're all good in my book. Like, probably shouldn't kill people, but but I guess if you here's the thing is, like, if you have a code and you hold to your code, and then that's a good thing. If you have a code and you betray your own code, then you're the one who's unethical.
Agreed. And you also have to live with yourself, where I think Charlie Barrett slept well at night. Kaiser Soze slept fine at night. I actually think the Punisher slept pretty fine at night too, except when he was in so much pain for getting his butt kicked by Caruso or someone else.
I'm not sure if he really slept well at night. I think I think if you take out the fact that his wife and children were murdered by his best friend, because he seemed to have that nightmare quite often.
Maybe that's why Kaiser Soze took care of action himself, so it was never a nightmare.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably true, but
but true.
All in all, I guess when it comes down to code of ethics here, or just a code, or just being ethical, I think one has to define what ethics is to them, or what having a code is to them, and then from that point you can determine who has a better code, or who is more ethical or not. And I think in this sense, those guys, even though they may not be truthful to what's written down in law, as far as what's written down, as far as the books of law and stuff like that, did they hold true to themselves? And I say yes, they did.
It is interesting. It's just tough because it's this situation where we are all given an opportunity to write our own moral code. But then once you write your moral code, you need to live by that code. Or if you break your own code, that's where you literally fracture your own soul.
I do agree with that. And I think there's probably occasions where I probably done it once or twice in my life. And then you got to just try to make amends the best way you can from that point forward.
Which will, and I'm just going to throw it out there right now. And I know you're going to do your next Smarter Challenge, but for anyone who wants to get ahead of the game, you can't get that far ahead, because part of my next Smarter Challenge 2 weeks from now is Hercule Poirot's Death on the Nile, and him as an individual, his moral code. Now, this is where I think it's interesting, because I actually, on my next episode, want to do a quick review of that movie. And Hercule, it looks like Hercule Poirot, but it's Hercule Poirot, Agatha Christie's crime detective. The new movie comes out February 11th. Gotta go see the movie. Gotta do that. And then give the quick movie review. But then really talk about the difference with his moral code versus every one of the three we've previously reviewed. So we're talking about The Punisher, Charlie Barrett, and
Sure, we have enough time.
Dude, we're going to do it on that show, because at the end of that show, we're going to talk a little bit about our own moral codes without giving too much away, or without breaking our own souls.
All right. Is that
Dude, that's it.
Okay.
That was me letting you know, that's kind of the wrap up of this for now for me, because much like yourself, I don't judge these two characters, Charlie Barrett or Kaiser Soze, as doing... Not that they didn't do wrong in strict, this is life, but at the same time, man, if you're a father and someone did that to your family and you didn't take revenge, I would think less of you then than I would if you followed the law and then possibly saw that criminal walk and live a good life.
I think that would be that's a pathway each individual person has to look at.
It truly is, but when we talk about what's going on in society right now, what's the interesting facts of when the Punisher comic book came out, the timeline, and how it correlates, another thing we'll talk about in that next episode, to Suicide Kings 97 and The Usual Suspects 95. There was a lot going on publicly. Cold War had ended. Things with Reagan Punisher, there's a lot going on.
I would say this, like if the Punisher came out in 74, that means roughly that's slightly bit ahead of when Carter was president, and Carter is when you're probably looking at the same type of economic situation we're currently in.
I 100% agree. And I think it's only going to build future interesting situations.
So my smarter challenge for this upcoming week.
Yes.
Let's introduce the Scotch for next week.
All right. Noah went big, by the way.
Hey, it's not me. It's company.
Dude.
It's always company.
We rotate the Scotch. It's like he's not taking credit that he deserves right now.
No, it's company.
It is the company, but it's still the same. This is his topic and his Scotch. This is
the company Scotch Hour. We're going to be doing Distillers Edition, the Oban Distillers Edition.
Dude,
and
not even looking at the bottle. Look at how sexy this canister is.
I know. It's a pretty sexy looking canister.
Like, you're not dressing this lady in Target lingerie. She's wearing Victoria's Secret or Agent Provocateur.
Talking about Target lingerie. Sorry, this is going to be a total sidebar here. Before I get my, all right. So part of when I was as an independent agent selling life insurance and recruiting some new agents and stuff, I was out at I think maybe I want to say like maybe a Walmart or something like that. And I was just at the time I was like trying to find like some new agents to come on board with the agency, and I ended up coming across a woman who happened to be in the lingerie area. And I wasn't paying attention because I wasn't really I didn't care about where I was at in the store or anything like that. And it created a very awkward situation when I'm like, hey, are you looking for work?
OMG or FML, take your pick.
And it was a woman.
I did it for the dram.
It was a woman inside the.
Do not drink and drive for lingerie.
And here's the funny part too. This was in Las Vegas when I was living out there.
OMG or FML, take your pick.
So, in any case, sorry about that. Sorry for that little sidetrack.
Next week, Scotch, the Oban 18 Distillers Edition, and
all right. So I've been struggling here on what my next smart challenge would be, because I really wanted to do pizza and everything that's great about pizza. You know, like best pizza you ever had, best frozen pizza, best pizza here in the state of Colorado, and stuff like that. But I am gonna. I say we still go with the pizza one. Because here's my other things I was thinking about. All right, I'm going to toss out the other ones, and maybe we could talk about them too if we have time. To go along with your kind of like, you're kind of like your arc. I was going to talk about the codes of Boba Fett and the Mandalorian.
Jump in, man.
Because
I mean, this. We need this in life.
Because right now the Book of Boba is is ongoing, so I think that'd be a popular topic. Plus, episode 5 actually is about the Mandalorian, not about Boba. And here we see like their codes, and I think the codes here would actually play really well into your overall theme that you've been building. So I was kind of thinking maybe we should cover that for this upcoming episode, and I'm really thinking we should.
Let's do it.
You want to do it? Okay.
Do it, man.
All right, let's do that. So here's the Smarter Challenge.
Yes, I'm ready.
Watch. I guess it'll be all 6 episodes because there's going to be a new episode coming out on Wednesday.
Assuming you've already watched The Mandalorian. If not, your guys are going to be watching more.
All right, if you haven't watched any of The Mandalorians, you got to watch all 2 seasons of it, or is it 3 seasons now? I think it's 2 seasons.
It's 2 seasons,
and then 6 episodes from the Book of Boba. So. Here, I think we'll talk about the code of ethics or their rules, because I think they are slightly a bit different. Because the Mandalorian, he was raised from a certain sect of Mandalorians, yes, which is a little bit different than the rest.
Right. It's all about culture.
Yeah, it's all about culture. And then Boba, he was actually raised by his dad, and he's actually a clone. And his dad was like a bounty hunter for the whole time, basically. So. he has actually a different code than like the Mandalorians themselves. So they both have two different codes, and they're actually different than like the Mandalorians in general, slightly. And I think it would kind of play well into the whole character arc of like having a code and ethics and that type of stuff.
Flipping love it. Let's do this. Also, just for anyone, I needed to double check my math because I didn't do the math originally, and notating on the Distiller's Edition here, the 2021-2007. This is actually a 14-year double matured Oban Scotch Distiller's Edition that we'll be drinking on the next episode. It's not an 18-year. I said 18-year. I was wrong. And as soon as I said it, I literally thought about the picture. I'm like, that's not 18. So a 14-year double matured. We have never had an Oban we didn't absolutely love. This is going to be no less. It might even be that much better. We're talking about the Mandalorian, Boba Fett. Super excited.
And then I think if we have enough time, then we'll probably bring in pizza a little bit. And then the other, I'm just going to toss this one out here too because I think it's interesting. The other subject I was kind of thinking about had to do with Pluto in the astrological chart of the United States. So apparently when Pluto makes a full cycle from when from the start of a country's chart or birth chart, if you will, to when it does a full circle all the way around, it usually goes through like these huge upheavals. So England, the UK has gone through 3 of these. Rome, all time.
I believe that more than any Baba Yagas or Nostradamus.
And then Rome, on the second coming of Pluto, Rome fell. And right now, here's the funny part: is come July of this year,
we don't want to hear this.
Pluto is coming in. It's full circle July of this year, and look at the upheavals that's going on.
If Trump was in office, I wouldn't believe it, but with Biden in office, I fully believe this.
I think it's kind of a strange topic. It's
not a strange topic. It's absolutely something that is mathematical and scientifically. So we know gravity has an impact. We had literally studied this in previous episodes, including Interstellar, which kind of took a little bit of a different aspect of it, but the waves of a moon placed perfectly to create life on Earth. So gravity's real, and Pluto is no different, even if it's this little teeny bit of gravity as it cycles through the universe.
But so someone brought it up to my attention. They're asking me about it because they know how I'm into politics and stuff like that. And I haven't really looked into it, and I started to look into it, and it's actually a pretty interesting thing when you start looking at some of these other countries and how whenever Pluto does wrap around, it's all kinds of crazy crap happens.
Here's my only hope, that they fall on the way of the Aztec calendar and the Mayan calendar ending life and civilizations on Earth. We don't have that long to wait, just like with the others. We'll know before the next 6 months are over.
So I think it'll be interesting. I think that's an interesting topic. Maybe that might be
topic.
A future one. But we'll go with Mandalorian and the Book of Boba. And
love it. Dude, and the Oban Distiller's Edition, 14-year double mature.
And it kind of goes with Boba's Mandalorian outfit. It's green, right?
Dude,
that's green.
This is green. Better than green. This is a great looking canister. A Scotch aficionado enjoys this canister before even getting in the bottle.
All right. Anything you want to say to the people before we take off?
Please. We talked about our public service announcements. It's not just about public service announcements. It's about the announcements we make for everyone out there. Please do not drink and drive. Have some fun. Give us feedback. Let us know we can do better. And hopefully you guys feel the same way we do, where life is great.
Life is great.
And you're enjoying a little piece, whether that be with scotch or water, your favorite water, whatever it may be. Your kids, for sure. Whatever you're doing, your business. I've got this great life, and I like to complain. Who doesn't at times? But at the end of the day, I got no reason to right now. Keep doing you, and please give us feedback and keep watching the show.
All right. So the one thing I say, well, first of all, thank you everyone who watches us or listens to us on either watches on YouTube and Rumble or listens to us on Podbean, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Audible Music, or I'm sorry, that's Amazon Music and Audible Podcast. For all of you who do listen to us, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that. We both do. And the one thing I really would ask people to do is start leaving comments. Interject like what you feel about our topics or about the scotches that we try. And hopefully with that, we'd love to see your guys' comments, and we'll be more than happy to comment back to you. And with that, cheers, and hopefully you guys have a great week, and we'll see you guys next week with the Book of Boba and the Mandalorian. Have a great night.
Same scotch.
Oh, same scotch time, same scotch hour. Channel, whatever.
Works for me. Life is great. Don't drink and drive. Cheers.
Cheers. We hope you enjoyed this evening's episode of Scotch Hour. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you have not done so already, please become a Patron member with memberships starting as low as $1 a month. Thank you, and hopefully you have a wonderful evening.